Connecting. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. And they are. Oh boy! No, I just hit the wrong button, guys.
Uh-oh.
Let's not go there.
Let's try a different button.
Let's go here.
How about this button?
Hopefully this works.
Let's see who's first. Let's see who's
Let's
first.
see.
I don't know. I still haven't gotten a...
Do we have odds on who the first one will be?
Oh, wait. I see us. I didn't get a thing, but I see us.
Do you see us?
Yes.
Good.
Come
At
on.
least there's two of us that are going to.
Oh, there it opened. Oh, wow. Oh, my gosh. Xenomorphat. Me. There you are.
Hello.
Hi, Xenomorphat. Great to see you. Good.
We got the wrench in the house. Some say Jezebel in the house.
Awesome. Awesome. Jenny Pace. Great to see you. Yeah, yesterday we did one on Evolutionary, and for an hour and a half we had 0 views, and I don't know, a bunch of comments and like 50 thumbs up. And hi, Neil. Mark Smith. Rock and Roll Jesus. Great to see you. Hi, Neil. Joshua. Sorry, I didn't see you there. Hi, Joshua. Galzer. Friendly Nephilim here. Well, that's nice.
What if a lot of Nephilim were friendly?
What if they were? We just don't know. I maybe I've met one now. Hi, Galzer.
Yeah, history is definitely full of revision. Libby Dickinson from Oklahoma. Lee, hello.
Hi, Lee. Mark Smith.
There you go. Conspiracy realist.
All right. We like that.
And Phyllis Silva. Hello.
Hi, Phyllis. Great to see you.
Yeah, it's just been a crazy day, week, month, year.
Yeah.
It's 2025. I mean, this is the big year when everything changes, and maybe everything changes starting right about now, right about the fall. You know, we just had another eclipse, and you know, we have some high holy days for certain religious traditions. Oh, it's fascinating times.
You did great, Galzer. Oh, and there's our KK. Hello.
Yes, KK in the house. Jenny Pace. More Oklahoma in the house. It's just crazy out there, and it's just fun to see everybody's take on what's happening. There's been a lot of channeled information coming through. You know, we've shared a lot on Patreon. There was 2 exclusives that we put up there in like the last 24 hours. It comes in bunches, and just like with Cindy's channeling, comes in bunches, and then sometimes there's this lack of communication, and then all of a sudden there's a whole bunch of stuff that comes through again. But we are definitely in the acceleration phase of really kind of the end of the world as we know it, and then an interim period as you know, the new will be built.
Oh my gosh, Libby, that sounds like fun. We do that around here too. We kind of hang out and do mantras when it's tornadoes are out.
When the weather is really strange.
Yeah.
You know, and again, even with the weather, you know, right now it looks good. I see a lot of X's and a lot of that skywriting more in the mornings, and then doesn't seem like they do it as much out in the open in the middle of the day anymore.
I know, and I see Foxy Lotus. Hello. Alice's Alivex. Hello. Good to see you. Thanks for coming. We appreciate the support. Thumbs up. Anything and everything is very much appreciated, guys.
Yeah, the last live we got like shut down and cut off several times. It was a real piece of work, but here we are, and so far so good. Robbie Berry's in the house.
Hi, Into Heart. Hi, Robbie. Mark Smith. Oh yeah, we said hi, Mark. Well, hi, Mark again.
So Mark's talking about the 9 companions traveling with 3-Eye Atlas. Cindy did get information on that, which we shared on Patreon yesterday. Yeah, you know, it did finally come through that, you know, again, when you're talking 3-Eye Atlas, it is, in our opinion, it is a ship. You know, it's a ship. It has consciousness associated with it. There are beings associated with it. And I think, you know, a lot of these comets are ships. They've always been ships. It's just the system trying to do what it does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, you know, if you usually have a wrench and you don't see a wrench, it's just probably the change in channel. I don't know. Some weird things have happened with wrenches.
Yeah, we've been going live on EEARTS the most, but we jumped over here to Evolutionary because, again, the system just seems to crack down on one channel for a while longer, and then they'll jump to the other.
Hey, Stacy, great to see you. We're sending you guys good energy, good juju over there.
Yeah, so 9 companions. You know, it's also been said that 3-eye Atlas, or third eye at last, coming awake in many of humans in
Zoe
humanity.
Sighting.
Oh my gosh, we got Zoe in the house. Awesome.
Mm-hmm. And Libby.
Buenas noches.
Libby. Oh, wow.
Yeah, we'll dismiss that. Okay. That it's actually a fleet, so to speak. You know, the Lyran fleet. Again, Lyrans, then we automatically, when that word comes out, I automatically think of, again, the galactic war between the Lyra and the Lyrans and the reptilians, the Draco, and the Orion group, you could say, again. That really is the background story, the reality for what's been given to us as Star Wars and that whole saga. You know, again, everything is really based in some ways on reality. The Matrix, you know, we see it in all those things that resonate with us. Why do they resonate? Because they feel truthful. They remind us on a DNA level, genetic level. It's still imprinted, just like the Younger Dryas extinction event. It's imprinted in our DNA.
Indeed, it is. And, you know, those memories, they come to the forefront in different ways through trauma.
Mark was asking about Comet Swan. Yes, it feels very benevolent.
That Comet Swan did feel good. Now, I can say that. It does have a little bit of different energy than 3-eye Atlas. And 3-eye Atlas wasn't bad. It just felt authoritarian, but not in a bad way.
Well, and again, you got to realize it's, as Cindy was telling me, as above, so below, as within, so without. What we see going on Earth is really what's going on out in the cosmos and in the greater reality as well.
Oh, and a JW sighting. Hi, happy Tuesday to you too, JW. How do you know we say that around here?
Yeah, well, we celebrate Thor's Day, or, you know, again, our Thor's Day is actually our Wayne's Day.
Our Wayne's Day, yeah.
And we are really looking forward to the retirement celebration for JW, and, you know, that might be the only time I have to go to D.C. is actually to go and celebrate with JW.
Yes.
I would actually eat cake.
Yes, we would eat a piece of cake, JW. Keep that in mind.
Absolutely.
Just for you.
Absolutely, guys. So, this. Wow. If you missed the speech at the UN, you should really go back and listen to it. I hope this does not echo from here, but I will play some. It was scorched earth. It really was scorched earth. And, you know, I found it very, very entertaining, to say the least.
Not only is the UN not solving the problems it should, too often, it's actually creating new problems for us to solve. The best example is the #1 political issue of our time, the crisis of uncontrolled migration. It's uncontrolled. Your countries are being ruined. The United Nations is funding an assault on Western countries and their borders. In 2024, the UN budgeted $372 million in cash assistance to support an estimated 624,000 migrants journeying into the United States. Think of that. The UN is supporting people that are illegally coming into the United States, and then we have to get them out. The UN also provided food, shelter, transportation, and debit cards to illegal aliens. Can you believe that? On the way to infiltrate our southern border. Millions of people came through that southern border. Just a year ago, millions and millions of people were pouring in, 25 million altogether over the 4 years of the incompetent Biden administration. And now we have it stopped, totally stopped. In fact, they're not even coming anymore because they know they can't get through. But what took place is totally unacceptable. The UN is supposed to stop invasions, not create them. and not finance them.
Well, the reality is, again, this goes back all the way to Sumeria and Akkadia. Literally. You'll have a king in Akkadia using forced migration as a method of infiltrating other countries and literally, again, controlling populations. This has been practiced all of our known history. It goes back at least 5,000 years. Might go back farther. It could be something that's actually planned and carried out on a planetary scale. Because I do think, as above, so below, as within, so without. Why do we have so many different humanoid beings? When you look at Earth, you have groups of beings that literally, at some of them 3.5, 4 feet tall, literally. And you also have others where the average height is 6.5 feet tall. We have a wide variety of all different skin colors. And, this is something that should be absolutely celebrated. Different cultures, different cuisines. It's a thing to be celebrated. But when you have forced migrations as a weapon of war, because that's what it is, whether it's, just looking at the economic warfare that's going on, it's a divisive tool that's been used for 5,000 years, at least. Again, and I do think it's actually something that's brought to Earth from elsewhere. And that's a big reveal, a big tell. But it's part of the system. So, again, he went scorched earth on the UN. Oh, wow. Listen to this when it comes to climate change. And I'll tell you what, too, there is statements coming out of Google. Yeah, the company that, they're owned by Alphabet. They, in turn, own YouTube, where we are right now. Statements admitting, that maybe they did some things they shouldn't have done. Boy, this is just wow.
In 1982, the executive director of the United Nations Environmental Program predicted that by the year 2000, climate change would cause a global catastrophe. He said that it will be irreversible, as any nuclear holocaust would be. This is what they said at the United Nations. What happened? Here we are. Another UN official stated in 1989 that within a decade, entire nations could be wiped off the map by global warming. Not happening. It used to be global cooling. If you look back years ago in the 1920s and the 1930s, they said, global cooling will kill the world. We have to do something. Then they said global warming will kill the world, but then it started getting cooler, so now they could just call it climate change, because that way they can't miss. It's climate change, because if it goes higher or lower, whatever the hell happens, there's climate change. It's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion. Climate change, no matter what happens, you're involved in that. No more global warming, no more global cooling, all of these predictions made by the United Nations and many others, often for bad reasons, were wrong. They were made by stupid people that have cost their countries fortunes and given those same countries no chance for success. If you don't get away from this green scam, your country is going to fail. And I'm really good at predicting things, They actually said during the campaign, they had a hat, the best-selling hat. Trump was right about everything. And I don't say that in a braggadocious way, but it's true. I've been right about everything. And I'm telling you that if you don't get away from the green energy scam, your country is going to fail. And if you don't stop people that you've never seen before, that you have nothing in common with, your country is going to fail. I'm the president of the United States, but I worry about Europe. I love Europe. I love the people of Europe. And I hate to see it being devastated by energy and immigration. This double-tailed monster destroys everything in its wake, and they cannot let that happen any longer. You're doing it because you want to be nice. You want to be politically correct, and you're destroying your heritage. They must take control strongly and immediately of the unmitigated immigration disaster and the fake energy catastrophe before it's too late. The carbon footprint is a hoax made up by people with evil intentions, and they're heading down a path of total destruction. You know, the carbon footprint was a big, big thing a few years ago. I remember hearing about the carbon footprint, and then President Obama would get into Air Force One, a massive Boeing 747, and not a new one, an old one with old engines that spew everything into the atmosphere. He'd talk about the carbon footprint, we must do so. Then he'd get in and he'd fly from Washington to Hawaii to play a round of golf. And then he'd get back onto that big, beautiful plane and he'd fly back and he'd talk about, again, global warming and the carbon footprint. It's a con job. At extreme cost and expense, Europe reduced its own carbon footprint by 37%. Think of that. Congratulations, Europe. Great job. It cost yourself a lot of jobs, a lot of factories closed, but you reduced the carbon footprint by 37%. However, for all of that sacrifice and much more, it's been totally wiped out and then some by a global increase of 54%. Much of it coming from China and other countries that are thriving around China, which now produces more CO2 than all the other developed nations in the world. So all of these countries are working so hard on the carbon footprint, which is nonsense, by the way. It's nonsense. You know, it's interesting. In the United States, we have still radicalized environmentalists, and they want the factories to stop. Everything should stop. No more cows. We don't want cows anymore. I guess they want to kill all the cows. They want to do things that are just unbelievable.
And kill all the ostriches up in Canada. You know, this was scorched earth. I mean, this was the most truth I think we've heard out of a politician at the UN, perhaps ever. Perhaps ever. Again, we're watching cautiously. Because, again, I wouldn't trust any politician on the planet. But then again, I do agree with these things, and also putting the connection that was put out yesterday, just not even 24 hours earlier, you have that whole thing about Tylenol, ouchies, and, you know, the rise in autism. So you have so much confirmation for everything that you guys have been saying all these years.
I know, it's so sad. I mean, that ostrich story really has me upset. I mean, that's 400 creatures that they're going to take out just because they have feathers and they're big. There's no other reason for it. And, you know, not to mention the cows that they've taken care of and all the chickens. I mean, and the way that they do it too is so barbaric. It really, really bothers me how this has gone on. And then the people who come in to reinforce it because it's their job, you know, and they say the things like, I'm just doing my job. And gosh, as hard as it is, because we all need to do something. And here's the other catch. If they decide not to do it and they step back and say, I'm not going to do this, somebody else, you know, you just get a scab. Somebody else comes in and does it. So I really think we still have a lot of work to do, but at least this is something. I mean, really, he is going scorched earth. I'm pleased with that. He doesn't seem to be holding back. He almost seems like he has nothing to lose, which could be bad in some ways.
Well, you know, again, and Robbie said, where's Big Beautiful Baron? You know, like there was reports that Baron was maybe not attending school. Maybe, you know, maybe he's hiding somewhere, you know, because, again, the feeling has been that we understand how the system does things. You know, again, look at all those people that mysteriously met their demise. In so many different ways. We could talk about, the crime syndicate that came out of Arkansas, you know, again, that spent 8 years plus in Casablanca. But you could also, you know, bring up so many other different things, like before the big, you know, thing, the event that happened in 2020, you know, December 2019 happened. there were hundreds of naturopathic doctors that had a lot of accidents at one time. It was just, huge. It's all basically being exposed at this point in time, which is really, really hopeful. But again, it does feel scorched earth in the sense that, I don't know, maybe he feels that his time is short in one way or another. Yeah, we're going to talk about the latest things the Polar Psychic was seeing. Here you have Secretary Rubio slamming the UN, saying they're useless. Yeah, it's the end of the system. The system, well, it's the end of this aspect. The thing we have to be mindful of is not to watch the system morph into something but still have control. Like, obviously, no CBDCs. And those that are into crypto often will be very, very wary of CBDCs because, the central banks are the problem. It is the banking cartel, which is a mafia, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. I think they're absolutely one of the biggest, darkest, if not the biggest and darkest mafia on the planet.
Right. And, I want to take a moment and thank everyone for their support in Israel. Robbie, thanks you guys. Thumbs up. Anything you can do really keeps us going. So like I said, yesterday we had 0 views, a bunch of comments, 50 thumbs up, and they're just really trying to shut us down in every turn. And, the more we expose, the more people we awaken, the more people we activate. They do, because we do activate people, and they don't like that. Once someone's activated, they can see past the veil, and that's less money for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And we don't have to have any sort of status. In fact, we're happy to ride below the high waves that catch all the attention. Because I think that might be one of the things that's kept us alive all these years. As the guides did warn us about getting too big, honestly. Here you go! And thank you, Lindsay. Lindsay has always been so supportive too. You guys are just wonderful. And we're blessed that you're part of this family.
Thank you so, so much, Lindsay.
Yeah, here you go. So Google admits censorship under 46. Promises to end bans of YouTube accounts of thousands of Americans censored for political speech. Wow. Yeah, this is the time of change. Google also admitted the following to the House Judiciary Committee. The Biden administration pressured Google to censor Americans and remove content that did not violate YouTube's policies. The Biden administration's censorship pressure was unacceptable and wrong. Public debate should never come up at the expense of relying authorities. The company will never use third-party fact-checkers. Europe's censorship laws target American companies and threaten American speech, including the removal of lawful content. I've gone back and forth on sharing with you guys exactly every little detail of our financial situation with YouTube, just to show you guys, because you'd probably be blown away at how little we've actually done this for all these years. And it's again, our purpose is all about awakening others. That's really what we want to do, is awaken and truly help humanity. Again, an organization like the UN, that's supposed to be its purpose, but its purpose is something very, very different. It's all about the control system and keeping everything status quo. So here you go. It's the way they word things too, because obviously, like if I look at the Drudge Report, if I look at CNN, MSNBC, so many of the big media that has been so controlled, the way they word things, they obviously don't like, or at least give the illusion of not liking what's happening in the system. And I think there's all different levels to those in the know. It's just like in the military. That's not for you to know, soldier. You're only told that which you need to know to accomplish your mission. That's it. As you go higher up on the food chain, and really many presidents of many countries are not that high up on the food chain when you really get down to it. But here you go. President Trump announced that his administration will lead an international effort using AI to enforce the Biological Weapons Convention, calling it potentially groundbreaking but risky initiative. So he said on Tuesday his administration will lead an international effort to enforce Biological Weapons Convention. Speaking to hundreds of world leaders in NYC, Trump announced the effort, which artificial intelligence will pioneer. To prevent potential disasters, I'm announcing today that my administration will lead an international effort to enforce the Biological Weapons Convention, which is going to be a meeting with top leaders of the world by pioneering an AI verification system that everybody can trust. Hopefully, the UN can play a constructive role. It will be one of the early projects under AI. Let's see how it goes. A lot of people think it could be the greatest thing ever, says Trump. Could also be dangerous, but it could be. But to tremendous use and good, it's an example of that. His rant comes after he slammed the UN after experiencing several malfunctions during the body's 80th session. It was reported that the president experienced a small blunder while entering UN headquarters with Melania. Reports indicate that immediately after Melania stepped onto the escalator, it came to a sudden stop, forcing her to hold onto the side rail to prevent herself from falling. Within seconds, the Trumps and their team climbed the stairs as normal. Then, as Trump stood at the podium to deliver his speech, he quickly noted his teleprompter wasn't working. I won't mind making this speech without a teleprompter because it's not working. Well, don't forget the helicopter event and also the airplane event. There's been a lot of events lately, which would lead you to feel, again, that there's a clashing of the wills, so to speak. Over here, this is from the BBC. Trust doctors over Trump on paracetamol, which I guess is, the UK version of Tylenol. So, in the UK, the doctors came out saying don't trust what the findings were that Trump had shared with everybody yesterday. So he had, obviously, if you missed it, on Monday, Trump announced doctors in the U.S. would be advised not to prescribe Tylenol to pregnant women, and that pregnant women should fight like hell not to take it. But over here, again, in the UK, there's doctors and groups coming out saying, don't listen to that. We want to keep, having you guys take what you're taking, so to speak. And then this tweet, which also was from today, supposedly, this is Trump, by the way, after getting to know and fully understand the Ukraine/Russia military and economic situation, and after seeing the economic trouble it's causing for Russia, I think Ukraine, with the support of the European Union, is in a position to fight and win all of Ukraine back in its original form. With time, patience, and financial support of Europe, and in particular NATO, the original borders from where the war started is very much an option. Why not? Russia has been fighting aimlessly for 3.5 years, a war that should have taken a real military power less than a week to win. That's not distinguishing Russia. In fact, it's very much making them look like paper tigers. When people living in Moscow and all the great cities, towns, and districts all throughout Russia find out what's really going on with this war, the fact that it's almost impossible for them to get gasoline through long lines that are being formed and all the other things that are taking place in their war economy, where most of the money is being spent on fighting Ukraine, which has great spirit and only getting better. Ukraine would be able to take back their country in its original form, and who knows, maybe even go further than that. Putin and Russia are in big economic trouble, and this is the time for Ukraine to act. In any event, I wish both countries well. We'll continue to supply weapons to NATO for NATO to do what they want with them. Good luck to all. And Donald J. Trump. So is this his way of saying, don't pull us into it, when we want to stay out of this third world war, so to speak? you guys just do what you want, and if Europe wants to get into a World War III with Russia, don't look to us? Or is this just being sarcastic? What exactly do you guys get that he's trying to say here? Politics is definitely not Cindy's strong point when it comes to picking up on things. Again, I think my wife she stays out of the ghetto, the slums of politics. It's just too low a frequency. So curious to see what you guys think.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at it and I think, wow, what's going on? What are we getting close to? It feels like we're getting close to some kind of truth, some type of major kickoff, and I like it. I mean, this stuff coming from the president does hold weight for a lot of people, and it does give other people backup. Even if they're talking to family members that disagree, they could say, hey, look, this is what they're saying.
Yeah, and this is again comparing what we saw in Canada just yesterday with what we saw in China in 2022. Looks like a zombie apocalypse, and again, it's just horrible what we're seeing going on. I feel really bad. We have so many Canadian friends and family, dear friends and family, also dear friends and family down in Australia and New Zealand. These are some of the nicest people we know. And certainly the government situation, the political situation is some of the worst that we've seen.
Yeah, it is. And it's too bad that so many really, really, really good people have to live through it. No fault of their own, other than, what family they were born in, and they weren't born in the elitists' families. So I think we just keep pushing. I do. Obviously, our energy is making some progress here. That's what I see. We can't create anything if we cannot imagine anything. So definitely keep that in mind.
Okay, so I saw Robbie's comment. Robbie is tapping into my mind. He knows exactly what I have planned for this video. Rosh Hashanah in 2025 begins the sundown Monday, September 22nd. So it began at sundown yesterday. Ends on nightfall, Wednesday the 24th. A lot of people have thought that today, there were some groups that were expecting the rapture today. It does feel like something could happen. It feels eventful, and it certainly already was with those speeches. The speech that came out yesterday, again, the Tylenol speech, and the UN speech today. That was eventful, absolutely. And then culmination of Yom Kippur, which is the Day of Atonement, observed from sundown Wednesday, October 1st to nightfall Thursday, October 2nd. So that's the holiest day of the Jewish year, dedicated to fasting, prayer, and seeking forgiveness for sins. But, it hit me, wait a minute, I know there was a war that was called the Yom Kippur War, which happened in 1973. I was 8 years old. I do remember it happening. The Arab-Israeli War, the fourth Arab-Israeli War, the October War, or the Ramadan War, was a major conflict fought from the 6th to 25th of October 1973 between Israel and a coalition of Arab states led by Egypt and Syria. So the war began on the 6th of October 1973 when Egypt and Syria launched a surprise attack across their respective frontiers during the holy day of Yom Kippur and the Muslim holy month of Ramadan. So, that makes me think about now. And then also, when you look to what our friend, the Polish psychic Krzysztof Jakowski, has been seeing, he sees Netanyahu's funeral is what he was getting in the video that went up 7 hours ago on Clear Seeing, which Clear Seeing, they do the translation for us from Polish into English. You can also watch Jakowski's own main channel, which I think has about 300,000 subscribers, 400,000 subscribers in Polish, and then you could still translate it yourself just by doing the settings. But it's interesting because he's seeing Netanyahu's funeral, And he is seeing an attack, a huge attack on Israel, that's going to do more damage than any attack they've ever seen in Israel's existence. Has something to do with relief ships going into Gaza, because there's obviously a very, very critical situation with food and water in Gaza. All that's going on. I think a lot of nations are at their breaking point. And so, he's wondering if it's Turkey or if it's Egypt. He does see Russia supporting from a distance what happens. When you realize, too, if you really do look at the countries with the largest Islamic population, if you take it from the standpoint that would other Islamic nations come to the aid of Palestine, which, again, you even have some European countries that are bringing up the Palestine word again. Well, they might. They really might. And there are countries out there like Pakistan is nuclear armed, very, very large military. Indonesia is, I think, about the fifth largest country in the world, I want to say. And, it is predominantly also Islamic. So he's seeing conflict coming. He's been seeing conflict coming for a long time in the last 3-4 months of this year. And he has also done, he's used his psychic gifts with our friend Alois Ermeiler, who is on the astral plane right now watching and seeing if his prophecies are going to come about as he had seen so many years ago, back to like 1959. Cindy was able to make contact with Ali, as we call him, Alois Ermeiler, who is a gifted psychic and really helped the police, just like he's very, very much like Christoph, or I should say Christoph is really, to me, he's kind of a modern-day Alois Ermeiler.
Yeah, he's a really interesting one. He takes his work very seriously, even in the afterlife. It is kind of hard to get your predictions right because you're looking in this soup of information, trying to pick out things where you're going to hit dates. But I really do like Christoph. He's had some really good hits, especially I remember with the plane crashes. I mean, he just hit that left and right, and he's getting nothing but stronger. So that's great. We have a little forewarning here and there.
Yeah, and he's also seen that 47 would not have a full term. In fact, I think he has gotten that term is coming to an end, is really how he has said it too. So could it possibly be that we would see a change in leadership in Israel and the U.S. in perhaps even by the end of the year? We always want to put out positive energy, and we do pray for everybody, and again, you certainly don't make make a right from two wrongs. And again, we need to change the entirety of the system. But for that to happen, exactly what happened in the last 2 days does have to happen. All that has to come out, and it has to come out from positions of authority, ideally. And it is starting to happen. But yes, he's seeing Netanyahu's funeral. So yeah, I want to just say that I think what 47 has alluded to is the plans of those that we would call the globalists, per se, shifting power to China, ultimately, China being the world's dominant power. And so, if you look at everything that has been done, you could see that. You could see the comments again from Klaus, who's no longer in power over at the few. So, we have to be mindful of that. And there is our beloved Susan Donahue over in the greater San Fran area. Susan's been with us, seems like, from the very beginning. And we want to thank you for your support, as always, dear Susan.
Thank you so much, Susan.
Yeah, we really love you guys, and it's been a blessing. Not that it's ending right now, but it does feel like we're in a period of changes, serious changes. Like, this is the time we've been always looking at. And while we're fixated on the geopolitical, what could happen? Great quakes could happen. I don't want to forget this time to talk about the fact that Mount St. Helens, people saw smoke coming off of Mount St. Helens. Let me bring up something else, guys, just to give you. I want to touch on this because if you guys have been with us as long as Susan has, and I know a lot of you guys have, Cindy got back in 2020 that the real attack on the United States would occur when the Pacific Northwest has volcanic activity.
I saw a lot of volcanic activity, so it's hard to say. I guess when things really, really get crazy, that's when we pay attention. But this was really very interesting. The way they're trying to play it off just doesn't seem quite right.
Yeah. So this is On the Pulse with Silky. She does a great job. She stays on top of everything all the time. And her question was, what's going on at Mount St. Helens, right? Because people saw what they took to be smoke. Now, what's the official explanation? Do you want to know what the official explanation is? They say, yeah, it was ash, but it was from 45 years ago. Wait a minute. You don't think we've had a big storm in 45 years? How is ash getting whipped up by winds in 2025 when the eruption happened in 1980?
I know. How is that happening? It's, it's plausible because it's one of those things where you could say, well, it could happen, and I think that's kind of how they roll. I could be wrong.
I don't buy it. Not for a second. Not for a second. So I do think there's a lot of signs that now we have to be really prepared, really prepared. That's all. We just be as prepared as possible. We keep putting out our positive intents. She's also been keeping an eye on Sicily, and again, the area down there in southern Italy that has, again, had a massive history with eruptions. Of course, Greece, we've been looking at that. And then San Francisco had a 4.5 recently, too. So, there's a lot to be aware of at this point in time. There's a lot coming down. And meanwhile, when you look at it, this is Ollantaytambo in Peru. Peru, yeah, someday we're going to get there, and I'm going to grab Cindy's hand, and we're going to touch that rock together. Yes, and, shoot, maybe we'll have a second wedding somewhere over in Peru at one of the sacred sites. Look at the diamond pattern. We've had such advanced civilizations. The thing to realize is we had extraterrestrials, we had ultra-terrestrials, and more people are starting to use that term, so I think that's really cool. With us. They were with us. They were guiding us. We had benevolent ones before the dark system took over in its entirety. And they were teaching us. They were guiding us. When you look at some of the magnificent structures, yeah, humans did build them to a degree. We were guided by them with far advanced technology and understanding.
Yeah, I mean, at one point it was just so common, and it was a daily thing to be guided by these beings that knew a whole lot more than we did. And at some point, I don't know if it's going to be in this lifetime, but it's going to happen again. It's happened so many times before now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 45 years ago. That's a good one, isn't it? So this is Ken Panama. Made a big sensation with the black goo monster that came out of a meteorite that he nurtured. And Cindy does pick up that there's a little bit of something here where it might not be exactly completely honest, but it still is kind of fun in the sense that people are starting to recognize that things are not like look at the creature is enjoying a little martini there. Yeah, there you go. Things are not as they seem. And while, there's going to be a lot of, fake things going on out there, at the same time, you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Yes, ultra-terrestrials have always been part of the show on planet Earth.
Oh, wonderful. And we have so many people in the chat. Great to see you guys. Nina, Sam, Susan Donahue, CR user, anybody we forgot to say hi to, we say hello, and we appreciate your support in every way. And it's really nice. It's really fun to get together and feel the energy. And it's very expansive, especially with so many people in the chat. It creates one big kind of healing type of energy. So thank you. And Sam. Hi, Sam.
Yeah, absolutely. And, again, guys, we want to thank you for your support. So when you look at everything that's happening, like right now, the focus seems to be shifting towards the geopolitical spectrum. So maybe that is a good time to keep an eye on the quote-unquote Earth changes. But then again, we also have 3i Atlas and all that. There's actually like 7, what they say is 7 comets incoming. Do you think any of these comets make the power structure that's been in control here a little nervous? I think so. I think there's an actual fear that exists in the power structure with some of the beings that have serious technology and could spill the beans on the power structure anytime. I think a lot is happening now.
I think so too. And are we ending? We want to do a ding.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Oh, wait a minute. I gotta show this to you guys. Yeah. I almost forgot this. This is so cool. Here you see it says a Russian reveals that using a piece of material causes spheres and orbs to become visible, and shows the spheres making anomalous maneuvers over in Russia. 10 minutes of footage linked below. This is what I saw in the 80s. When the guides gave me a vision, I was coming home from work. I had my first apartment, and then I had this vision of these orbs watching everybody. Some were as high as this, some were lower, some were below the height of the buildings. Oh, man. I didn't understand that in 1980, 83, 84. It reminds me of They Live, with seeing, having to use a certain glass to see what's really going on there. Yeah, I think, too, what's going to come out is the fact that a lot of beings that you may have already met are not Homo sapiens. There's a lot of them. And this is the original film that's talking about. There's a lot of beings out there that might look like us, but yes, they are extraterrestrial in origin, and also some of them may be what we would call synthetic. I mean, already, like we see all these robots that look so lifelike. Look at these spheres up close. And I think there are those that are already, had they been walking amongst us for many generations. They've always been here. So you remember the Bible says some have entertained angels unaware. Well, the literal translation of the word angel there is messenger, and meaning messengers of the Elohim, the mighty ones, those that judge humanity. Yeah, I think, again, this is part of the realization of what's going on planet Earth. Look at these things. They're watching us. We've seen these many, many times. We've gotten some shots ourselves on camera and video of them and shared it with you guys over the years.
Oh, they look like they're friends hanging out, kind of.
Yeah, so we've been watched our whole lives. You get that feeling in the back, of your neck. Somebody's watching me. Remember that song? Yeah, well, it's true. I mean, and it's even before Big Brother, people were watching us. Beings were watching this. This is Space RU, by the way. And there are some cute buddies.
Okay, you guys, you know the drill. Think happy thoughts, okay? Hold on. Here we go. Okay, you guys, thanks so much for showing up. Thanks for your support. I want to say another thank you to Israel, Robbie, Lindsay, and Susan, and everyone who gives thumbs up. And Source bless and namaste.
Much love, guys. Blessings and namaste.